What's up, everyone? It is the 12th of May, 2025. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the death of Extreme Wrestling legend Sabu, who helped bring the hardcore style of the sport into the mainstream throughout the 90s and 2000s. Throughout this video, we'll be investigating the fascinating numerical patterns in the death of Sabu and how it connects to a number of other professional wrestlers. What makes the death of Sabu so interesting is that just 3 weeks before his passing, Sabu had his final professional match with Game Changer Wrestling, otherwise known as GCW, against a wrestler named Joey Janela, who is also known as the Bad Boy, at least according to his own page. Now, Sabu was also the nephew of another famous pro wrestler, the Sheik. I mentioned the Sheik a couple of years ago on this channel because in June of 2023, the Iron Sheik passed away. The Iron Sheik died just 2 months before a man named Terry Funk, who a lot of fans will tell you is actually the greatest pro wrestler of all time. And the reason I'm mentioning Terry Funk is because Sabu's real name was Terry Brunk. Now, this might seem trivial to many people, but the fact that their names rhyme solidifies a connection between these men. Now, although Sabu was an American, a second-generation Lebanese, he was promoted as an Arabian wrestler, the suicidal, homicidal, death-defying maniac was essentially his nickname. And when he was famous was around a time when suicidal, homicidal Arabians hijacked 4 airplanes during the September 11th attacks. Now, this connection may seem like a stretch to some of you. However, during his career in Extreme Championship Wrestling throughout the 90s, Sabu was often accompanied to the ring by his handler, this man, a wrestler named 9/11. Now, in this image, he's also being accompanied to the ring by the owner of Extreme Championship Wrestling and current WWE superstar, Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was born on September 11th, 9/11. Now, during the 9/11 attacks, the President of the United States was George W. Bush. And George W. Bush was a graduate of Yale University and a member of the Skull and Bones Society. So throughout this video, we will see how this is yet again another riddle connected to this bizarre university, which celebrated an extremely significant anniversary in the year 2023. So let's dive into the numbers and kick things off by looking at the language of Gematria and how it connects to dates on the calendar. We, of course, begin with the base 4 ciphers, which then expands into Latin Gematria, the only cipher I teach not based in the current alphabetic order, but the one that appears to be the most significant. So to begin, let's look at Sabu's age on the date he died. May 11th, 2025. If you include the end date, this was exactly 60 years and 5 months after the death of Sabu, or the birth of Sabu. 60 years, 5 months. If you do not include the end date, notice how his age in days also ends with the numbers 065. Well, in the reverse alphabetic order, his ring name Sabu equals 65. And he rose to fame in Extreme Championship Wrestling, which was based out of Philadelphia, which is another 65 in reduction. Now, once again, Sabu just recently had his last wrestling match, after which he announced his retirement. And then he alarmingly dies just 3 weeks later. Well, on the date of his death, Joey Janela, his final opponent, was 313 days after his birthday. That's the 65th prime number, which connects back to Sabu's age. Also in the Latin cipher, notice how the name Joey Janela has very similar gematria to Terence Michael Brunk, Sabu's full name. Both have this special 722 values in this method. Now, the 911 code here is very deep. On the same day as his death, the Middle Eastern nation of Qatar offered to donate a new airplane to Donald Trump. And Qatar is, of course, in the Middle East, which, we were told Sabu was from the Middle East, just like his uncle, the original Sheik. Now, of course, this is causing a lot of controversy in the government. Should Trump really be accepting an airplane from a foreign agency? Probably not, but of course, this is the silly news we get. Now, the plane that was offered to Donald Trump was a 747. And check out how this number connects to this story. So as I mentioned, his legal name was Terry Brunk, which is very similar to Terry Funk, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Terry Funk was born 7,470 days before Terry Brunk. And when Terry Brunk passed away, he was 747 lunar phases old. And again, he dies on the same day Qatar offers a 747 to Donald Trump. When Terry Funk died in 2023, check out the age of the Iron Sheik, whose age ended with 747 days. In fact, the Iron Sheik died 77 days, or 11 weeks exactly, before Terry Funk. 77 is the reduction value of September 11th and World Trade Center. Of course, the Pentagon, 77 feet tall, was struck on the 77th meridian on the same day. And remember, the World Trade Center was 110 stories, taken down on the 11th, in the 11th state, the towers in the shape of an 11. So this was a very significant number to the attacks as well. And remember, he was accompanied to the ring by a wrestler named 911. This pro wrestler, 911, his real name was Alfred Poling. And in Gematria, check out how the name Alfred Poling equals 119. The 911 in reverse. Alfred Poling also sums to 65 in reduction, and he was the handler for Sabu, which equals 65. Also notice how Sabu has the same gematria as Yale. Both Sabu and Yale equal 43, and this special 65. We also have Paul Heyman in this image, who was born on September 11th. And don't forget, many Christians believe that September 11th was the day that Jesus Christ was truly born. Now, if you measure from the birthdays of Sabu to Paul Heyman, they were born exactly a span of 9 months apart. And of course, 9 months is the approximate human gestation period. Well, when Sabu died, it was on May 11th, which this year was Mother's Day. And in Christianity, the mother of Christ was Mary. Notice how Mary sums to 511, matching the date May 11th when he died. Furthermore, mother sums to 273, and this is the number of days between Sabu's and Paul Heyman's birthday. Sabu going on to die on Mother's Day. So next up, I want to talk about how this all connects to the 9/11 attacks and the two great American total solar eclipses that swept over the United States over the past 8 years, back in 2017 and 2024. I often refer to these as the skull and bones eclipses, as Yale University's special anniversary in 2023 lined up perfectly with the lunation count between these eclipses. So on the date of the 9/11 attacks, this wrestler, promoted as an Arabian, was a span of exactly 441 months old. Why is this special? The number 441 is simply 21 times 21, or 21 squared. This is similar to the year of the attacks, 2001, a lot like the number 21. And of course, after the two towers were destroyed, they were replaced by one tower, 2-1. In the alphabetic order, Sabu's legal name, Terrence Michael Brunk, equals 201. In the reverse order, Terrence Brunk equals 201. And in reduction, his last name Brunk equals 21. Back in 2021, the year 21, Sabu's girlfriend, another wrestler named Melissa Coates, passed away, and her name sums to 210. Sabu wrestled his final match over WrestleMania weekend in Las Vegas, and he ended up dying 21 days after WrestleMania. This was the same day that Qatar offered a jet to the U.S. Notice how Qatar has matching 21 Gematria with moon. Now, I know that Sabu is from New York. Understand he was often billed as this Arabian. So, again, dig into it yourself. You guys will figure it out. Now, in the alphabetic order, both Qatar and moon also sums to 57. This syncs up with the moon's 57-degree range of declination. Sabu died 57 days after the Iron Sheik's birthday. In Hebrew, the word eclipse equals 57. And Sabu died exactly 57 weeks after the second Great American Eclipse in April of 2024. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that when I talked about the Iron Sheik in 2023, there was a similar synchronicity in the news with the Middle East, because the Saudi Arabian Live Golf Tour merged with the PGA just one day earlier. The Live Golf Tour is named as such because they only play 54 holes, and LIV is 54 in Roman numerals. Notice how in both reduction methods, Iron Sheik sums to 54, forwards and backwards. So this second Great American Eclipse that Sabu died in connection to was exactly 346 weeks after the first eclipse in the year 2017. Sabu passed away exactly 3 years and 46 weeks after his girlfriend Melissa Coates. The number 346 is found in the Latin Gematria of 1212. And check out Sabu's birthday, December 12th, or 1212. Now, if you measure from the first Great American Eclipse to the date of the start of Lunation 1212, it was 1212 days later. And from the start of Lunation 1212 to the second Great American Eclipse was another 1212 days. And again, Sabu, born on the date 1212. Using the Sumerian method of Gematria, which is the simple alphabetic order, multiplied by 6, which is the ultimate number of time. Notice how the phrase total solar eclipse sums to 1212, which is also the value of skull and bones in reverse. Skull and bones also with the 1212. So if you're new to the channel, this is an alignment I've been teaching about for many years, about how these two great American eclipses were perfectly synced with the Pope. Remember, Pope Francis was from Argentina, and this total solar eclipse, which began brown lunation 1212, peaked over the nation of Argentina. And now, less than a week after the first American Pope gets elected, we get this death connected to the number 1212. So next up, let's talk about how this all connects to the Skull and Bones code, and this is where everything gets completely undeniable. We first begin with the date that Sabu died, May 11th of 2025. This was a date with primary numerology of 61 and 41. In Pythagorean or reduction, skull and bones equals 41, while skull and crossbones equals 61. Sabu wrestled his final match in WWE back on May 1st of 2007. You can find this on his wiki page as well as cagematch.com. The May 1st episode of ECW in 2007 was his final match. Measuring from that date to the date of his death was exactly 223 lunar phases. A lunar phase, also called a synodic month, measuring the time from new moon to new moon. Well, in the alphabetic order, skull and crossbones equals 223. And remember, it's the digits 322 that sit on the emblem. Sabu died 3 years and 322 days after his girlfriend Melissa Coates. This same duration of time is also exactly 48 lunar phases. The 48th prime number is 223. When Sabu passed away, his uncle, the original Sheik, would have been 1,223 lunar phases old, or 1,322 sidereal months old. A sidereal month, the other measurement of the moon, where we look at the orbital period, a little over 27 days. And this is the big numerical combination we've been discussing for a couple of years. In the year 2023, Yale University, home to Order 322, turned 322 years old. So what happens if we measure from this October 9th anniversary to the death of Sabu? We find it's a span of exactly 83 weeks. 83, the reverse value of his uncle, the Sheik. In reverse reduction, Yale University, Brotherhood of Death, Skull and Bones nickname, and Las Vegas, Nevada, where Sabu had his last match, all summing to 83. Sabu was born 8,308 days after the Iron Sheik, who would have been 83 years and 8 weeks old when Sabu died. Sabu's similar namesake here, remember Terry Brunk to Terry Funk? Notice how Terry Funk was born 838 days after the Iron Sheik, which are the same exact digits that connect Sabu to him. Also in the reverse order, the word murder sums to 83. However, the word murder also equals 399. And if you measure from the second Great American Eclipse to the death of Sabu, you get a span of 399 days. In another cipher that uses the alphabetic order, but also incorporates capital letters into the equation, capitals mixed, the name Terrence Michael Brunk, his full legal name, equals 399. In the reverse alphabetic order, his name equals 339. And not only did he die exactly 4,339 weeks after the Iron Sheik was born, but he also died 339 days after the anniversary of the Iron Sheik's death. And how do we know this is connected? Well, the Sheik was born on June 7th. This man's Sabu's real-life uncle. And the Iron Sheik died on the date June 7th. Sabu's last opponent, Joey Janela, was also born 339 days before the Iron Sheik's birthday, matching Sabu's full name in reverse. So earlier we talked about the number 223, a big skull and bones number. Well, a huge connection with this secret society is that the 223rd prime number is 1409. And when you write out skull and bones in the alphabetic order, it equals 149. Sabu's death occurred 8,149 days after his uncle, the Sheik. And earlier I mentioned how the Iron Sheik died on the Sheik's birthday. The Sheik would have been 97 years old exactly on that day. The word death equals 97, skull and crossbones 97, brotherhood of death 97. The Sheik's nephew Sabu has died at the age of 60, which equals 97 in ordinal. And this makes sense because when you look at this nickname, the bad boy, that he puts in quotes for Joey Janela, this equals 572. Matching skull and bones, 572. And remember, this society is based in ancient mythology. Egypt equals 572, another nation in the Middle East, which reminds us of all this synchronicity we had with the Iron Sheik and that of Sabu. Now, if you check my blog post down below, there's a few more interesting connections I laid out. And I guess the one that I'll point out here at the end of this video is through the number 74. The number 74 is actually quite relevant to the 9/11 attacks. The World Trade Center complex sits just a few blocks west of the planet's 74th western meridian. The 74th prime number is 373. And using the prime number cipher, the state of New York equals 373. Sabu's girlfriend, Melissa Coates, her full name sums to 74 and 1274. The phrase total solar eclipse, also 704. Jesus has the 74, just like killing. He was the Messiah and died on the cross. All 74, as told in the gospel. And we're looking at simple English gematria for the most part, which are all words that sum to 74 in ordinal. So, Terry Brunk, better known as Sabu, was 704 months old when Terry Funk died. And Sabu died 704 days after the Iron Sheik, who would have been 30,373 days old for Sabu's death. So as always, no blog post or video is truly ever complete. There's always more to discover. But what I do want to point out before I wrap this video up is this wild nickname that Sabu was given during his time in ECW. The suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying maniac. Quite the mouthful, isn't it? Well, in reverse gematria, this nickname sums to 5,190. And in reverse standard, Sabu's full name, Terrence Michael Brunk, equals 5,190. And when you dig up Sabu's birthday, you discover that he was born during Brown Lunation number 519. So for more info on that, check out the New Moon page on Wikipedia, which discusses the Brown Lunation number. Ever since 1923, every new moon has been counted. And Sabu was born during 519, which connects to his name and his nickname. Also born on the date leaving 19 days in the year. So, shout out to Cody in the chat. I was going to look more into this wrestler 9/11. I didn't actually run his age for this event, but it's definitely worth doing. Alfred Poling, born in 57. Take a quick glance at his numbers here. All right, so you said 9/11 was born 74 triangular days before 9/11. So the 74th triangular number, 2775. Yeah, I'm not seeing this in the age, buddy. Is he connected to Paul Heyman at all? Yeah, I don't see that either. I think the big find here is just that his name is 119 in the alphabetic order. And his name is 9/11. Ah, his debut. So his debut in 1990, you're saying, was the 74th triangular. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to dig around for these dates. Trying to keep this video a little bit short, as I think I covered enough here with the connection with the 747 from Qatar to Trump, the Great American Eclipses, the Skull and Bones Code. It's good stuff. All right, so thanks to everybody for tuning in live or archived. Please do feel free to like, share, subscribe. And R.I.P. Sabu. You know, unfortunately, I myself never got to see Sabu live during his golden years. I went to one ECW show in 2000, Hardcore Heaven, which was held at the Rave here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Sabu wasn't on the card that night. But that was just an incredible show. Easily, by far, the most fun I've ever had at a pro wrestling show. I wasn't even 15 yet. And my buddy and I went there. And my buddy was like, he was so into it. He was chasing the wrestlers around the arena. He got like some of Rob Van Dam's blood on his hand. He's like, yeah, I got RVD's blood. I was like, you psycho, dude. But it was a blast. And you hate to see Sabu go, man. The guy was so committed to his craft. And truly provided a lot of the best entertainment of the era. So R.I.P. Sabu. Much love, but, you know, I'll never stop investigating the fascinating numerical patterns of this wacky universe we live in. All right, everyone. That'll do it. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.